So every time that I see or hear anything Motherland, Fort Salem, I start hearing the theme song in my head. Oh, and then I'm like, am I being recruited? Hi guys, my name is Maria Park and this is Approach to Nerd. And in this episode, we are reviewing Motherland, Fort Salem, episode 7, entitled Mother Mausoleum, or Mausoleum, or Mycelium, however you want to say it. This episode was really good. I think this episode is like the cause and effect episode. So everything that happened in the previous episodes is starting to play out in this one, which kind of makes sense because this is episode 7, and I think there's only 10 in this series or the season. So with that being the case, let's break down the craziness that was episode 7. First, I'm going to talk about another cute little pairing. I remember last week's episode, we were introduced to Adil and his sister, who was very, very sick, Colida. She had this virus, they think it's a human-made virus. It's like this black, viney gunk that's attacking her body. Even sick, Colida is extremely, extremely strong. And I will get into that in a minute. But the pairing is Abigail and Adil, Khalida's brother. Now, they're both from Tarambassan. I think it's there. Tarambassan. I got to get these names down. But they're both from Tarambassan, and they are I want to say they have the ancient type seed that basically Alder really, really wants to learn. And Adil has special abilities, he can make himself literally be invisible to everyone else. It's almost like he puts a force field around him, but he's connected to everything and at the same time. We see this when he does this with Abigail in the episode, and that is the pairing that I think is really, really cute, Abigail and Adil. It's so weird though, because it really is like fire and ice. He's a pacifist, and of course, Abigail was bred to be a soldier, so their basic moral compass are different. They don't have the same values. He thinks everything that the soldiers are doing by using their voices to fight with weather and is basically destroying the environment, causing people to starve and die. And of course, Abigail's yeah, but there are little side effects, but we still have to do it to crush our enemies. So they really have an interesting battle to overcome if they become an actual couple, which they do seem to be really into each other, and they did kiss. So I'm kind of into them, shipping them a little bit. But we'll see what happens, because as we go on through the review, he doesn't really have a very big incentive now to stay at Fort Salem, which I'll get to in a second. So Tally is still feeling extremely guilty over hiding the fact that she knows that Scylla is free. It's killing her, actually. It's to the point where she is avoiding Raelle, and Raelle is actually noticing it. And she's using Garrett, who's now at the base, because for some reason, all of the men were called back to make weaponry, I guess because, unfortunately, the witches are being treated pretty poorly by the outside or by civilians. They're being pretty much blamed for what the spree is doing, because all of the civilians, all they see is that there are witches hurting them. They're not separating the soldiers that are fighting for them from the spree at this point, which is what fear does, especially mob mentality. That's what happens. We pretty much are having a reflection of that in our own lives today. So, yeah, it's actually pretty bad at this point. And so, yeah, they're back at Fort Salem. The Father Witch, I think is it Father Witch? No, Witch Father. Witch Father is basically there to try and, number one, to get his men somewhere where they're not being persecuted, and number two, to help Alder by making more advanced weapons. They're just making weapons around the clock, which makes me wonder, is that all that they do? Is that what the guys do in this series? The men are like the blacksmiths? I mean, is that what it is? They make all the weapons, they forge the weapons, and the women go fight with them? Huh. It's interesting. But so yeah, so they're back, and that means that Garrett is back. And of course, Garrett is trying to talk to Tally. Now, I'm going to say this. You're engaged, bro. Like, why are you still chasing this woman? And it seemed like his fiance is there. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But you know what? Whatever. But Tally is basically using him to distract herself at this point from what she can't say to her sisters, basically Abigail and of course Raelle. And speaking of Raelle, the thing on her finger when she touched the magic ice mushroom wall, that is what we're calling it. It's doing something to her. It's to the point where it looks like it's got gangrene. It's very disgusting. And she does get a sample taken. We haven't figured out exactly what's going on. I know there's a scene where the necro teacher of Scylla, like she pulls something up and it looks like something died or like is like aged. It's really weird. I mean, there's no verbals to it. It's like a millisecond scene, but she's looking at the wall like what the beep. And so, you know, I'm really hoping that whatever Raelle touched doesn't affect her the same way. But I mean, like we have 3 episodes left. You never know. And also with the necro teacher, training in Fort Salem is brutal because she asked for a volunteer. This young, you know, probably sweet witch girl came up, put her hand up like you do in class, and then she slits the girl's throat. And that's not even the worst part. The worst part is she's giving a speech to the class while this girl is bleeding out and choking to death on her own blood. What? Like, she does heal her, but you know, there could have been many ways to make this point. I mean, a PowerPoint would have been great. You know, this is what happens. Or like, I don't know, a YouTube video, whatever. You didn't have to do that. You know, that just seemed a little drastic to me. So yeah, training in Fort Salem sucks. I'm just saying. Now, Raelle in training, she also used, we don't know if it's a seed. Like, apparently she has an ability where she can like knock everybody out. And it's something that people, like the witches, will learn to do, but Raelle just seems to know how to already do it. She did it so powerfully when this growing witch was kind of ticking her off. She knocked everybody unconscious in the room. Except for the necro teacher, who she probably should have for slitting that girl's throat. But that's another point. And then with Raelle is also the one who Abigail goes to try and heal her now man, that's what I'm calling him anyway, her man's sister, Colida. But it was really odd. So Raelle does it, even though right before that, Adil's like, you know, every healer that has tried to do this has died. And you can see on Abigail's face, she's kind of conflicted. She's like, well, I don't want my girl to die, but I still want the guy to be with me. And the sister's looking pretty bad. So, you know, Tally says nothing. Now, Raelle, because normally with Tally, she probably would be the one that was panicking. She said nothing. And Raelle tries to heal her, and she does her like the little stuff she does where she speaks. I guess nobody else speaks. They just use like the vocal seeds that sound like song or whatever, but she speaks. And at first it doesn't look like it's working. It looks like it's spreading more throughout the girl's body, Kalida's body. But then it like, instead of part of it going into Raelle, it actually like literally flims away into the ground. And even Raelle said something is weird about that. Every time she heals someone, she gets part of the sickness, and she got nothing. And Abigail kind of said, well, maybe it's because you've gotten stronger, or, you know, this is what happens when you apply yourself. But like, yeah, it's a little messed up. So I'm sure that that's going to come back to bite us in the butt later. And then also with Raelle, so after that event, Adil takes Colida back to the medical ward, and I don't know how they didn't know she was gone. I guess nobody checks on her at night or during the day, the span of day that they're in. I know he can like teleport or whatever, not teleport, but like, I'm assuming he can just walk. I don't know how extensive this whole yellow orangey, you know, shield type power is. Maybe he can teleport. I don't know. But he brings his sister there. But it seemed like nobody in the medical ward knew she was gone. And so he tells them that she just woke up that way. And I'm like, huh, they have really shiny, you know, nighttime security / healthcare in this place. But they didn't, of course, Alder's like, nobody, that's not a miracle. I don't believe in miracles, blah, blah, blah. So then they go to Raelle's room while the girls are sleeping, and they do something so Abigail and Tally don't immediately wake up, and then they take Raelle and they put her in the same room as Scylla, and Scylla's like tied to the chair and she's crying. She's like, they're going to tell you some horrible things about me, and don't try not to believe all of them, but please believe that I love you. And then Raelle's like, I won't, and I love you. And then they drag Raelle off. And the reason that they did this is because throughout this episode, Alder and Anacostia have been torturing Scylla. They make her see food on a plate that turns out to be shards of glass, which it's actually nothing. It's all an illusion. It's just a plate. There was nothing on the plate. But Anacostia is trying to do this thing. It's called advanced linking. They're learning it in class, which is why the girl's throat was cut in the training session. The advanced linking allows the healers to heal them better by linking to them. And so you're able to share the thoughts and feelings of the person that you're connecting with or linking with. And Anacostia was doing this on Scylla, trying to get into her head to see where the spree location of the base is, or try and figure out why, the bellwethers were being attacked. And Scylla was fighting it. But when she saw Raelle, she got so emotionally distraught when they dragged Raelle away from her that she couldn't control her emotions. And that's how Anacostia got in. And she found out that the base is in like an auto factory in Vermont, which is why the girls, I think, are now doing the city drop. I don't think it's a random thing, but yeah, Anacostia goes to Alder and tells her where the location of the spree, headquarters or whatever. I guess it's the headquarters, could be just a random faction, but where they are. And then of course Alder's like, okay, well, thanks for the info, pretty much. And then she's like, what else? And of course, Anacostia's like, when I was linked to Scylla, I felt like she, had remorse. Basically, she held back, she was hesitant. And of course, Alder's like, you always had a soft spot for orphans. And Anacostia was an orphan, and Alder adopted her. And I'm going to tell you, Alder, I'm standing by this theory, guys. Come at me. She is shady, and she knows a lot more about the spree. And I think she founded the spree. I'm not letting that go until I am proven wrong, which I could be. That woman is dirty. But yeah, she kind of makes Anacostia feel like crap for caring about orphans. That's basically what I got out of that. And Alder also tried to get because she went to Adil in the last episode to ask to learn their seed, basically to learn their people's abilities. That's basically what it is. The way their powers I think they're actually more powerful than the standard witch, probably even Alder, which the reason I'm thinking they're more powerful than Alder is because when she goes to Colida to try and get her to teach her the seeds, Colida tries to kill her with the seed and then says basically our seeds wouldn't be, would not be safe with you. And I'm like, oh, and it was crazy. Like the plants were dying around Alder. Alder was choking. The biddies were choking. Like that little girl. I kept thinking that girl just wanted to look at the plants, and you coming at me like this. Like, really? I'm like, that little girl, yeah, she's a mess. I like her though. But it did show, because the way that Colida responded to Raelle saying, you're my savior, thank you, I want some food, nothing negative about her. But with Alder, she came off was, oh, you've done so much already, how can I help you? And then she attempts to try to kill her and then makes that remark saying, our seeds wouldn't be safe with you, and walks away. Yeah, that little girl, she saw through Alder. And I found that interesting. We also saw that Tally's knower ability is very strong, because she was able to see Adil and Colida when they were coming through that shield that he creates that nobody can see. So, but I have to say this. So I know that, and this is just what it is. I know that she is a knower. So Tally's a knower. I know that Raelle is a fixer, which with a lot of other stuff we don't know. And then, of course, we have Abigail. Now, Abigail is a blaster, but I think she's a prodigy blaster. I really think there's a reason that these three girls do better than everybody else together. And Abigail, who seems to have the most confidence of the group, I really think does not. I think she is the most insecure. She just has to put on that act because Mama said so. So it'd be really interesting to see what her ability or extra normal ability would be. Because I said this in I think I even said this in my episode 1 review. They have to be a fixer, a knower, and a blaster. That's the three. Those are the three houses besides Necro. So that's what I call them, houses, by the way. But yeah, so I'm really curious to know what Abigail, what her, what makes her special besides her name, basically. I'm trying to think, did I leave anything out? I don't think I did. I think it's really interesting. I love the fact that the guy, the queer guy, basically found Raelle and was the one that noticed her finger. And I actually like him a lot. I think he is funny. I wish I remembered his name. I don't. I wish I remembered his name. I really hope we see more of him. But yeah, the whole episode was really, really good. It just opened up a lot more questions, and it definitely is the effect to the cause of the previous episodes. Like, everything that's going on to this point has led to this, but it's also going to lead to next week. Because in the preview that we saw, I think that, it looks to me like they could have been dropped off at the auto factory, and I know they're fighting Seed. I don't know if this is just a random training mission where they know there's Seed, because there's really Seed there. So that's why I'm thinking they're in Vermont. I think they got dropped off in Vermont. And how cool is it that they're like using Salva to jump out of the helicopter in like unition, and just that to me is very, very cool. That is really cool that they had that when they said city drop, they really meant city drop. They jumped out of that helicopter. But yeah, next week's gonna be interesting. It does look like Tally and Raelle are gonna have it out. I think that Tally's secret is going to come to the forefront, because it looks like Raelle is slamming Tally against the car before it explodes. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. I'm very curious to see how next week's going to play out, because it looks like a lot of fighting, a lot of potential damage and injury, and probably a lot more things are going to be revealed. But theory, guys, Alder, she knows. Alder knows. I feel like she does. I don't know. They're trying to backtrack, because at first they were making it obvious that she was shady. Now they're trying to backtrack. But if you just listen to how she talks, she's shady. She is so shady. Just like when she talks about the Hague, she's like, well, I don't need their permission to do anything. I just invite them, give them the courtesy of knowing what I'm doing. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, wow. Even, Witch Father was like, oh, okay. It's almost like he was taken aback a little bit. Like, okay, let's see how we roll here. It's crazy. And like, all I've been doing lately is like formulating theories in my head, because I'm still convinced that the thing in the wall is Raelle's mother. I don't know why I feel like it's her mother, but I just remember them describing her death and her being crystallized and them having to break her out. And I keep thinking, what if they didn't do that? What if that is actually her? I know you guys have lots of theories about the bellwethers, being the shady ones, and, actually the spree being on the side of good. I think I got one message from someone who thought that maybe Petra was jealous of Raelle's family, and that's why she's, being targeted, her family's being targeted, because she did something to cause Raelle's mother to be encased, which could be. Honestly, we don't know that Raelle's mother wasn't connected with the spree. We don't know. We really don't. But I think Alder is like not letting it go. I think Anacostia knows a lot of shady information, and I think she's more of the person that doesn't agree with it fully, but is stuck on the sidelines, because technically Alder is her adopted mother. So you don't go against mama, basically. So it's crazy. This entire world is amazingly crazy, and I love it. It's like, it's so dysfunctional, and I just love it so much. And I really am excited about next week. So next week's episode is going to be excellent. This episode was pretty flipping cool, but what did you guys think? Leave me a comment below and let me know. And if you'd like to sign up for jury duty, hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to know who's next on the nerd ballot, hit the notification bell. Until next time, I can't wait for you to approach the nerd. Bye, guys. Thank you for watching my video. I really appreciate it, but hey, the party doesn't have to stop now. Click on one of these videos and keep it going.